Hello and welcome to my channel. Welcome to my very first YouTube video. My name is Meg. I am a busy mom of 3 little girls, and I started off on social media a few months ago on Instagram, kind of dabbling in some content creation while I was off for the summer after I had my 3rd little girl. And I thought, this is kind of fun. So I'm going to give YouTube a try. So I've recently been kind of having just fun with making videos, editing videos, and all of that. So I thought, why not start a YouTube channel? So here I am. I'm going to kind of introduce you a little bit to my life. Not all at once. Not that it's that exciting. But if you are a busy mom and you're looking for a little motivation, this might be the place for you. I don't sugarcoat things. My house isn't in perfect condition at all times. I lack motivation myself sometimes, so I think it's just, that's the reality of my life. And I'm kind of excited to just put it out there because I know personally when I have found channels and pages and whatnot, I can relate. So this is truly just like 4 days of me doing various types of laundry, from the kids' clothes to my clothes. My husband came home from a work trip, so I had his stuff. I did a couple loads of towels, as you just saw, I think the first one go in. And I did sheets as kind of part of a little Sunday reset. So I guess I'll start off by, you'll see in a little bit here, me folding towels while sitting on my bathroom floor. My husband was out of town for the week for work, which he travels pretty often. And I folded towels while my older 2 girls were in the bath. I have found, and I'm trying to kind of made almost like a little resolution to myself, like using pockets of time to multitask, because I do find personally with having a 9-month-old who still gets up during the night and 2 kids who are, in school and involved in activities. And like I said, my husband travels quite often for work, that I really sometimes lack motivation once they go to bed. By the end of the night, whether my husband is home or not, all I want to do is sit in front of the TV with a bowl of ice cream for like half an hour just to unwind while I'm decompressing from the day. So here, actually, 2 nights a week when my father-in-law watches the kids during the day, he'll stay and do baths with the older ones. And that's really helpful to me because I take my shower, and here I put some eye patches on and got some laundry folded while he was doing their bath. So that was really nice that I had his help for the night. And I do try to take advantage of that. So kind of my routine at night is my baby, she's 9 months old. We go upstairs about 6:30 at night. She starts to get tired or fall apart is more like it. And we play on her mat for a few minutes while I start running the tub, and then she takes her bath, and she's usually nursing, lights off by 7 o'clock. My older 2 girls, they are 3 and 5. They usually get into the bath around 7, whether it's my husband puts them in the tub or my father-in-law if he's here watching them. So I get out of her room, and while they're finishing up kind of their baths, I usually take my shower then. The baby lately has not been falling asleep in my arms like she used to. She kind of nurses and then is just babbling. And unlike my older 2, she is my best, puts herself to sleep at the earliest age. So I'm able to put her in the crib, and 85% of the time I say goodnight and she babbles herself to sleep. She is flipping over onto her belly, which is kind of funny because she is definitely my latest one of rolling over. She's not great at rolling back onto her back, so sometimes she cries because she wants to get back to her back. So I do go in a couple times in those first 10-15 minutes and put her back to her back until she falls asleep. The other night, I let her go, and I said, okay, well, She looks sound asleep. I had just gotten out of the shower. I think she had been sleeping for several minutes, and I really didn't want to wake her up. So I let her go, and she lasted probably about 4 hours before she started crying and wanting to get, back to her back. Okay, so here I am just folding. This is kind of a miscellaneous small load. It's mostly my husband's clothes, and as you can see, some towels there. My own personal clothes, I pretty much hang most of them. So I work from home full-time in finance. I wear sweatpants just about every day, or yoga pants, whatever. I am 5'8", so I'm taller, and I find that if I put my stuff in the dryer, even on like a low setting, it shrinks. So I do hang most of my clothes to dry, which is why I don't have anything of mine here that I'm folding. I guess kind of talking about my full-time job, that's something I hadn't mentioned yet. So back in 2020, in March 2020, when COVID had started, my job went remote, and we never really went back into the office. We went back in, 1-2 days a month. That was really it. I was about 10 weeks pregnant with my first daughter during COVID. So I really have my whole motherhood journey, I've worked from home. So this past year, it's almost been a year now since I kind of found out. So I ended up losing my job. My company had closed, and I had found out more than likely that was going to happen a week before I went out on maternity leave with my third. So I found that out at the end of last April. I had my daughter in May, the very beginning of May. And then I kind of just, took the summer to enjoy the baby and life with 3 kids, and kind of my husband and I figured out what we were going to do in terms of what kind of job I was going to look for. So with his travel schedule and having 3 kids, we decided that I was okay to find a job that wasn't like as high up as my other job. So I took, a huge step back in my career into more of an entry-level financial analyst role than what I had been at my previous company. And, the most important thing was that I'm working remotely. I go in the office, which is like 2 hours away, but I only go in like 1 day a month. So it works out for us, and, financially, luckily it,
What's that?
I was okay taking, a huge step back in my pay compared to what I was making at the job I had lost. So it was really hard for me at first, to try and like get in that mindset that, I'm starting over and everything. I was at my company for 13 years. I had started there not but 2 years out of college, so that was kind of where I grew up. So it was definitely a little bit of a change, but I can never put a price on being home with my kids. I'm here every morning with them. I get them ready for school. I'll drop them off at school, or I'll eat lunch with them, or I, nurse the baby down for her naps. And that's something I will never, regret doing that over my career. I know that's not everyone's choice, and it's not what everyone would choose to do or could do, and I don't judge anyone for anything like that. It's just that the way of the world was very different when I started looking for a job. When you're looking for a remote job, you're up against a lot of candidates now. The remote world isn't what it was before. My job organically went remote before. I didn't have to apply for a remote position. It was a full-time in-office position that went remote because of the pandemic. So I had been applying for a lot of jobs, but, you see on LinkedIn, like 100 plus people applied, and it's like, wow. So when this opportunity came up, and, I know a good friend of mine works in the same department, kind of talked to her about it and what the job offers, and, the life, the work-life balance. really worked well with what my husband and I were looking for. Because like I said, he travels a lot for work. He's gone 1 to 2 weeks, sometimes more a month. And, so I just couldn't imagine having to be in an office, 5 days a week, or even 3 days or 2 days a week, and then take care of 3 kids and get them to their activities and, school. And, my girls both go to school at the same time, but they get picked up at different times. My 3-year-old gets out at 1, my 5-year-old gets out at 3:10. So it's a lot of coordinating, and we decided for now this works. And luckily I'm really loving the job. I'm enjoying it. It's a completely different line of work than what I was in. I was in manufacturing distribution, and now I'm in healthcare, so it's quite a bit different. But it's really fun. It's a challenge, and I work with a lot of great people, and I'm just fortunate that the opportunity was there. So, and it's nice to go into the office, like I said, it's like once a month. It's 2 hours away, but it's not a bad drive. It's in a town that I actually used to live in right after I graduated from college, so it's kind of funny how life takes you full circle. I get to go back to that town and drive past the places that I used to go. So pretty neat. And like I said, it works for our family, and that's the most important part. So here I did some of my laundry while my husband was out of town. So I figured I'll get my laundry done, so when he comes home with a week worth of laundry, I can get his completely done. Like I said, I hang up most of my stuff, so that sometimes is frustrating when you pull this out. It'd be so nice just to throw it in the dryer, but I also don't like wearing sweatpants that are above my ankles because that's what happens when I dry my clothes. I also hang most of my girls' laundry too, just because I don't like their clothes to shrink. My middle daughter is very tall, so if I dried all of her clothes, her shirts would be belly shirts on her quite quickly. This is me attempting to hang up my skirt that I wore into the office when I went in the week before. But yep, here I am hanging up my sweatpants. So yes, I am the typical, the memes that used to come out when the pandemic first started. I wear like a nice top and have my hair and makeup done, and then I wear sweatpants on the bottom. Nope, that's just my work from home attire. Kind of going back to family, kids. I'm very fortunate that my mom helps me out a lot with our kids. She is like their chauffeur, and then, comes back and watches the baby, and kind of whatever I need, she helps me with. And my father-in-law, they are absolutely wonderful. They're our babysitting crew. And they really, especially even in a pinch when something comes up, they've never said no. And I'm lucky that my mom only lives like 5 minutes away, so she can come over here quickly. My dad had passed away right before COVID had started. I had just found out I was pregnant with my daughter. He passed away from leukemia in January of 2020. So unfortunately, they don't have my dad as a grandfather, because I know they would have absolutely adored him and he would have adored them. But I am very lucky that I have a wonderful father-in-law who has treated me like a daughter since the very beginning. Him and my mother-in-law have been, very good to me. So I did luck out in the in-law department. So yes, my father-in-law is a treasured member of our babysitting team. He helps out on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And like I said, he'll stay on Tuesday and Thursday nights and do like dinner and bath with the kids, which is really nice because it gives me time to switch out laundry or do things like this when my husband travels. So that way, I'll clean up the kitchen, kind of close up for the night when he's giving them their bath. And, I'm like supermarket sweepstakes downstairs trying to get everything cleaned up, and my coffee's set for the next day and all of that when he's here. Because my goal is always, okay, when the kids go to bed, the house is closed up and I can just go, pump and lay in bed, watch TV, just relax. Like I said, being a full-time mom, and I kind of describe myself as a work-from-home, stay-at-home mom, so I kind of fill the role of both. I have a full-time, Monday through Friday job, and then I also pretty much take care of everything in the house. If you hop over my Instagram, it's Mrs. G Cleans. You'll see some videos on there of me making dinner for my husband. So when I had lost my job, his thought kind of was like, be a mom, like you just had the baby. So he actually ended up finding a part-time job, and he works overnight shifts on Friday and Saturday nights every other weekend. He does a 12-hour overnight shift. And at first it was like, oh my gosh, it was a lot. I'm like, how are we ever going to make this work? And honestly, we've gotten to such a routine. We are very routine people. My kids have been on routine since they were very, very little. So what works for us in our marriage and our family dynamic is, that way we kind of know the expectations of each other and ourselves. And I think that's what makes it work and what makes life work for us. There's not one person feels burnt out or this or that, because we kind of always are in check with one another. So typically on Friday nights, we'll start there. He'll lay down for late afternoon Friday for 2 hours. He just tries to get a little nap in. When I'm done working on Fridays, excuse me, I will kind of pack him some food for overnight. He likes to try and keep it pretty healthy. There's nothing worse than crashing on a sugar high when you're working overnight. So I bake chicken. I'll make some kind of steamed vegetable. I'll make him a Caesar salad. I just get a kit and just split it up between the 2 nights. I'll cut up some fruit. He takes a protein bar, and that's, kind of his weekly menu for Friday and Saturday nights when he works. And then like normal, I take the baby up at 6:30, and then he takes the kids up for their baths, and he'll get them washed and everything. They actually kind of take showers. They play in the bath for a little bit, and then we drain the tub, and they take showers just because they both have long hair, and it's just, they're getting older, and they should be it's much easier to shower them. So anyway, he'll get that all done. I'll take my shower quick, and then the girls get out of the tub, and the baby's down. Baths are done, so really all I'm doing is kind of getting them dressed, and he heads out to work. So Saturday morning he gets home, and he gives me a couple hours to myself before he goes to bed for the day. He usually goes to sleep around 11:30. So I'll have a couple hours in the morning if I need to run any errands. Sometimes I go and get a manicure, or sometimes I just do some stuff around the house. So here I was making up my middle daughter's bed. This room is actually an addition. So we had put on a 2-story addition. That all started this summer. Once I found out last year that I was pregnant with my third, we were kind of out of bedrooms, and we toyed around with converting my office into a bedroom. This is my oldest daughter's bedroom now. But we kind of toyed around with turning my office into a bedroom, and then I would maybe work in our basement, which is finished, or in our bedroom. I really didn't love the idea because my office is on the first floor. I just didn't like the idea of, our bedroom and 2 out of the 3 kids being upstairs, and then one of the kids being downstairs. And not to mention my office is an office, so it's not huge. There's no closet in there, so we'd have to have something built. And one night I got out of the shower and I said to my husband, I have a bright idea. Why don't we knock our deck out, because the doors in the kitchen open up to the deck, and put a 2-story addition on? And he was like, I was about to go to bed and you just threw this huge project on me. So we did that. It wrapped up late fall, right before Thanksgiving. So now we have a playroom off of our kitchen, and then straight above it we have that bedroom that you had seen just before. So that was my middle daughter's room. So she got the new room because my oldest daughter, she's in that room that you just saw. She's very settled. She's 5. It's her room. It's her comfort. So we said, you know what? She's comfortable in there. Let's keep her in there. And then my middle daughter, she had the tinier bedroom. of the 2 kids' rooms. So she got the new room, and then the baby got evicted from our room and moved to my middle daughter's old room. So it's kind of nice because it is a pretty big room, so the girls play in there quite a bit, which works out. You know, I'm putting the baby down. It's nice that they can go in there and they play, and there's a lot of toys and stuff in there, and it works out because I can watch them on the monitor, so I know they're safe. All right, well, I'm about to wrap up this video, so thank you for coming along. If you would subscribe to my very, very new channel, I would really appreciate that. And again, I appreciate you watching if you watch this far and starting to kind of get a little peek into my life. And again, I hope this brought you some motivation to get some laundry done. Again, this was a couple days, so it wasn't, you know, this wasn't all one day, but it did feel good to accomplish all this. So I hope you're all having a wonderful week, and I'll see you next time. Bye.